My name is Victor Furman. Some call me the Voice. I've always been fascinated with human nature, spirituality, science, and the crossroads at which they meet. Join me now and we will explore these topics and so much more with fascinating guests, authors, and experts who will guide us to Destination Unlimited. Is it possible for anyone to connect with the spirit world and deliver messages of healing to others? Returning to Destination Unlimited this week is one of the most renowned, respected, and accurate mediums practicing today, James von Praagh. For 40 years, he's appeared on stage, television, and radio, has written numerous best-selling books, and has helped thousands upon thousands heal through his work as an evidential medium, providing proof of life after death through remarkably detailed messages from the spiritual realm. He joins me this week to share his path and a new 7-week course he'll be teaching with the Shift Network starting March 18th, Next Level Mediumship. Please join me in welcoming back to Destination Unlimited, James von Praagh. Welcome back, James.
Thank you, Victor. Thank you very much for having me on your show and your podcast, and appreciate speaking with you again.
It's been a few years since you last joined me on Destination Unlimited. You were discussing your New York Times bestseller, The Power of Love. And
Yes.
Today we will be sharing your 7-week online program starting on March 18th with the Shift Network. It's entitled Next Level Mediumship. Now, before we discuss this exciting new program, let's do a little bit of a catching up.
Okay.
Please share with our listeners your early path and how mediumship came into your life.
Wow. It's very funny, Victor. I'm right now writing my autobiography because and it's a really good exercise in taking your memory back. It's great. So you go back to the childhood. And in that space, I can tell you exactly, when I was a baby, when I was a toddler, I'd say, I used to, my parents, and I'm just literally writing this chapter right now. And my parents would be in the bedroom, in the crib, when it was like 9:30 at night. And they were in the living room, and I wanted to be with them. So I'd cry my eyes out every single night. And I remember that I calmed down because there was always, I saw these blue eyes in a corner of the room. And it was a man with white hair and blue eyes. And he used to come over to the crib, I believe it was a crib, and he used to play with this wooden mobile thing above me. And it fascinated me. It was probably when I was 2 years old the most, I'd say. And I remember years after that, my grandmother was going through a photograph album, and she came to this photo. I said, "Wait a minute, who is that?" She said, "Oh, that's your grandfather. He died before you were born." So that was my very first awareness of a spirit. And as a child, I used to see spirits quite a bit. My mother used to say, when I'd say prayers at night, I'm very Catholic, and I say, "Mommy, who are those people around the bed with the lights around them?" She said, "Oh, those are God's angels. You see them too?" I used to see them as a little girl. It runs in both sides of our family, so it's very normal. And I said, okay. So that was my reference. It was very normal. It didn't think anything strange to it. And it really just built, and I could see auras, colors, and I knew thing about people as soon as I met them. I felt who they were. And then around puberty, 13, 14, whatever that was, it stopped. And that ability came back to me in my early 20s when I went through a meditation, started meditation, and it came back full force. And there they were clearer. I could hear them very clearly and see them very clearly. That's my background.
That's a blessing, and the fact that your mother sort of gave you the permission to go ahead and share what you were experiencing is so wonderful, and it's a rare gift because many people as children report things and their parents tell them they're imagining things, and to have someone really support you through that process, what a gift that was.
Yeah, and I think, of course, because she was that way, I think, and it's funny, I'm writing this whole thing about imagination right now. I think if children could keep their imagination going, and at the age of 6, 7, 8, when they become programmed by teachers and parents and doing this and doing that, and I often say that teacher will say, "Get an A, do this," and in some way, I think the child interprets that as, "Oh, that will give me more love. If I please this person and they approve of me, I'm doing the right thing, I get more love." And I think we keep that sometimes. A lot of people keep that sense of trying to get approval from others, through a major part of their life. And I have found in my experience, in my mid-30s, I work with people, and so at one point in their mid-30s, they say, wait a minute, my life isn't working for me. I don't feel connected. And the reason why is because they're living somebody else's life, not their own life. And a lot of become doormats and trying to get approval. And once they take back their power, they begin to live their own life and so much more happy and fulfilled.
Very interesting that you share that, because one of the things that happened to me as a child, when I was 8 years old, my father took ill. And prior to that time, I never felt loved by him. And I
Mm.
became part of his caretaking team with my mother, and started feeling loved by him. And that programmed in my young mind, if you care for others, you will be loved. And of course, becoming a people pleaser and running around and taking care of everyone else until my mid to late 30s
There you go.
was just not the best thing, because it affected my health, it affected my emotional and physical health. And I finally learned to use the N word, to say no when
Oh.
appropriate. And that changed my life. That really changed my life. So I
And
still
most
extend.
people, Victor, most people have do that. And part of my work now, with the past 10 years, is reminding people who they are, that they have the power within their own soul. What other people think of you is none of your business, because everybody's unique and different in their own distinct way. And if we are our own selves in a distinct way, that is really important, because we can teach others, I guess I could say the vibration that we are, and not, it's so funny when you try to be somebody that you're not, it never works. It never
Yeah,
works. So
that's
it's
the
really neat.
truth.
Yeah.
You are a fact-based medium. What does that
Yes.
mean?
A fact-based or in evidential medium, which means my mediumship has always been, it's called evidential mediumship, which I am, for the past 40 years, the way I work as a medium is I'm able to bring through evidential details such as names, addresses, places, memories, relationships, and even going down so far as the spirit might say, you have my gold bracelet. And the person might say, well, I don't have the great gold bracelet. So, well, this lady here is telling me, your mother's telling me you have her gold bracelet. So let her show me. And it's very, very interesting, Victor, that the mother will, and every spirit is different with their communication, but the mother will take my mind's eye, the third eye, and she'll bring me on a journey. I've gone up staircases, gone down hallways. Say, it's the second bedroom on the right. We walk in, and the mother's giving this vision. So I'm describing the hallway, I'm describing the carpet, and I go into the room, and it said there's a dresser on the right side against the wall. The bed is to the left. I want to go to the second drawer. I want to open it up, and to the left side is a little wooden box. And the person would say, that's exactly right. Oh my goodness, I've forgotten that. So it's those details that the spirit people are creating in my mind to prove that consciousness survives, that there is indeed no death whatsoever. And that's the most important part of my work as an evidential medium. That is to bring proof that the consciousness survives. That's the goal for evidential mediumship.
You are also a prolific author with many best-selling books. In Wisdom from Your Spirit Guides, a handbook
Yes.
to contact your soul's greatest teachers, you share that every soul experiencing a physical incarnation is in constant, although subconscious, contact with their spirit guides. How may we develop a more direct and conscious relationship with our guides?
Well, I've put it into this new course as part of it, and because it's part of my development as a medium was to become mindful, to become aware of the space around us, or the spaces around us. And in the course, we're going to talk about it a little bit, but in my own development, there's a sense of being very open and aware to the subtleness of energy. That's how I could describe it. And I have people sit in the quiet, and they sit in the quiet or the stillness of their soul. And it's very interesting when one does that, and they go from the head to the heart, they bring their sense down to their heart self, and they begin to have an awareness of who they are as a soul being, right? And it's really a soul. We're here as souls having human experience, not the other way around. And I really talk about, as you become aware of that soul self and that space within you and then around you, you become aware of the different subtle energies that are in that space, or spaces, I should say. Many people call it the auric field, or the auric fields, I want to say, because I sense and see auras in different levels and colors all around us. And within that space, we become aware of loved ones, guides, teachers, who some have been with us for many lifetimes, some are family members. They're our team, our spiritual team. So the more we sit in the quiet, and by doing that, we're opening up the door to the awareness of the team, the guides, and be able to have them influence us, communicate with us. And it's more energetic than words. Sometimes you get words in your mind, but you first have to become aware of that space in the quiet of yourself. And it's amazing that the silence is very loud, but one has to have the patience because it's a process. In this age right now, people want things done very quickly, very fast. They want a spiritual bypass, and that is not worth it because you want to be able to sustain that space, the energy around you, and have, if you will, that real connection with your guides, with your teachers. For instance, I'll talk about, what does a healing guide feel like? And I give exercises about, I'm going to sense what that healing vibration is, and you can sense what an inspirer is. You can sense what a healing guide is. You can sense what a philosophy guide might feel like. And the more you open yourself up, if you say open the door to that, the more they will come to you. They'll more be part of your soul self. And we have to remember that, and this is very important that we have this awareness. The perspective is that, and my percentages might be off, Victor, but I think you'll appreciate this. So I say like 30% of your soul is within the confines of the physical body, while 70% is outside the physical body. So this is just the big toe to the soul. And if you can get into that space around you, the 70%, wow, your life opens up and you experience brand new, beautiful things and become more aware of who you are as a soul.
It's interesting that you shared that and talked about the auric field because I shared with you that my wife and I witnessed one of your sessions in the early 2000s at a huge theater in Manhattan. And during the time that you were bringing through the information, there was this beautiful purple aura around you. And as the information was being transferred to you, we saw flecks of golden light. And we confirmed this to each other independently, so we were absolutely seeing that. What a beautiful thing to see.
And you're not the only one to say that to me. So over the many, many years I've been doing this, and it's called the demonstration. I remember that place that I did that as well. And because I just come from Schenectady and I was very ill, I was sick, and I did a really good demonstration while being sick. I don't know, forget it. But there are a lot of demonstrations that have been around the world where the people in the audience, and they'll come up here and say, I have to tell you this, I have to tell you this. I said, beautiful purple colors around you when you're communicating. And when you were bringing through spiritual awareness or education, there were these gold flecks or gold light or rays coming to you. So I've had that quite a bit, Victor. So thank you for the confirmation in that.
One of the things that you've touched upon in many of your works is how we may create sacred space for these experiences. What are some of the techniques you offer?
Well, some of the things I do with a sacred space, which is really important, I think. I think that's true just in everyday life. I think that we have to have a space where we can rejuvenate and recharge. There's so much going on in the world, and there's so much energy being thrown out there. And I often say, you walk into a sea of thought because thoughts are things, and everyone sends their thoughts out there. And, sensitive people, empaths, have to be mindful of whose energies around them or they're holding on to. So I think that sacred space, a space you create in your house or apartment where you live, and I would just say reserve that for your spiritual work or for you to get back to yourself. So what I do is, it's funny, I sit in a space, I have a closet, it's a walk-in closet, and I sit there and I make sure it's dark. And I just sit down and I become aware of the space, myself, and my breath, and inhale and exhale. And I really become aware of my soul self. And that's what I was talking about earlier about becoming of the auric field. So that's a space I reserve for that work, if you will. Now, if people do spiritual work or they want to endeavor and to open up in their soul self, I would say reserve a space, like a closet, but maybe a corner in your room that is really reserved just for the work of your soul. Let's call it your soul space. And within that space, one should put things that enlighten them, that bring them up, that bring higher energy. So things they enjoy, whether it's flowers, whether it's incense, whether it's gentle music, things that speak to their soul. And I think when they sit in that space, whether it's because do meditation or do spiritual work or do a course, if you will, it's almost like amplifying your soul self. And one will know then day after day that if they go into that one space, that's where it's kind of like it opens them up. It becomes amplified. So that's what I would say a sacred space is for me. Yeah.
In your book, The Power of Love, you emphasize the importance of keeping our hearts open in daily life. In a world filled with stress and chaos and intolerance, how do we do this?
Aren't we being tested right now? So,
Absolutely.
I mean, we've all chosen it, which is interesting because as souls, we've chosen to come back at this particular time, this particular space, in this particular school, Earth, to experience a lot of these things, and to really, I feel, to influence others with love. So, I think that one can never forget who they are. And I think it's a wonderful opportunity. I think many things are opportunities for us, and these are rich opportunities to really connect with who you are as a soul and to realize what's important to you. Assess what's really important in your life. And I've done this now for years, Victor, but I do it every day. I'm aware of it every day, is that I'm aware of my interaction with people. So I'm aware of my heart space, and I call it my heart light. And I become aware of, like, before I leave my house, opening up that space, just being, and when we say opening up, being aware of it. So I'm aware of that. I call it a green light of the heart, and opening up that space. And I say, live heart forward. So every place you go to, energetically, you're making imprint in the space. I want to bring the highest level of love possible. How do I do that? Well, let's say I'm going to a grocery store or a pet store, and there's someone trying to find something. I sometimes will help them. I say, can I help you? And not that I work here, but I'm more than happy to help you. Or a cash register person will say, how are you today? Just giving a little validation, a little bit of an acknowledgement, because every single person needs validation. And it's just reminding them that we're all connected, that we're all heart people. No matter what happens around us, within us, we are our own loving beings. So it's very interesting. I often use the analogy that there could be a tree on a mountain, and all the seasons change. The tree will go through changes, but the tree is rooted to the mountain. So you're still there. Same with us. We're always going to be us, but the conditions around us might shift. But it's how we are able to be stable and be ourselves within these conditions and demonstrate that vibration, that frequency of love. And part of doing that is also being patient, right? Being patient and having a bit compassion with passion, and realizing, and here's a good one, this opens doors quite a bit, that non-judgment is the way. So many humans feel like they have to judge another. And I think they judge another because they want to feel empowered. They want to feel better than that person. So if they put the other person down, they'll feel better. And I just have to realize, I have to try to tell people, that soul is on a certain level. We have souls here on many different levels. We have baby souls who are just coming into the world, who believe that money and power and war, whatever is the way it is. We have postgraduate souls that believe that healing, compassion, and light and happiness and empowerment is the way. And then you have middle souls, which want to figure out both ways. So because you have those three levels, and maybe there are more, it creates scenarios, and that particular soul has to go really within themselves to figure out the solution to a situation. And I just say, you know what? Everybody comes from a different place. Everybody has a different background. Who are we to judge another? We don't know what their background is. You don't know another person if you walk around in their shoes for a while. So we have to bring that sense of love and vibration to them. And I think it's important as we share this space that we help any person we can every day to be the best they can by, again, bringing some sense of validation to them, assisting them, letting them know thank you for meeting me today. The space is enlightened because of you. Some imprint, and I always say, make the person make sure that when you live your life, and that the people that you meet in your life, that everyone you meet, their lives are better having met you.
Absolutely. I call them the simple gifts, the kindness.
Right.
Being on a line in a supermarket, a grocery checkout line, with about 10 people, and this elderly woman walks over carrying her small basket, and she looks and has such distress on her face at the long line that's waiting there. And I get out of that line and make sure everybody can see me do this and say, "Madam, please take my space." And she thanked me, and she had tears in her eyes. And I clarified that I was giving up my space so that no one got upset about the fact that I was allowing her to take my space and get into the line.
Yeah,
Simple acts of kindness.
Space. And it's so great that you let people know that they see you doing that, because by your example, you teach others. That's really, really important. I'm writing a book right now. And one of the things I'm talking about is my friend Olivia, who I was in development with for a long time with the healers, and we sat in development circles. And we had an agreement that whoever goes first will come back and tell the other what the experience was like. And about 7 or 8 years ago, Olivia passed, and she came to me right away. I said, "What was it like?" And she said, "Oh, it was lovely." She said, "It was like I moved into a theater." And she goes, I walked right into this movie screen, and I looked back at the audience, and they were all like stoned faces, like staring up. And she goes, "They weren't alive. They were kind of like just existing." And I walked in the screen, and there were beautiful flowers blooming as high as they could with these beautiful tones of perfumes. And every time they grew, there was a more beautiful perfume and so forth. And the people that came to greet me, she said, were not my family members right away, but these people that I really didn't know. And she goes, "This one lady came to me and she looked into my eyes, and I immediately was remembering how I met her. And it was one incident where I opened the door for this woman and helped her with a package. Just that little act of kindness. She came back to thank me and to welcome her home." So as you say, Victor, those little acts of kindness that mean the most, have the most impact.
Absolutely. Can we be loving without having our hearts broken?
Well, I think the experience is learning more about your heart, that emotional part of ourselves. I think, again, if one knows who they are, and one really, that, to me, it's a real good secret in that one should know who they are in order to be empowered and to be in control of their life. The more one knows who they are, the more easier it is, because you have that relationship with self, and you're not looking outside yourself for someone to fulfill your heart and fulfill your experience, because you have who you are. I think part of the human experience is to go through those emotional ups and downs. And I think that, anything that we go through, right? I think it's all lessons that we learn from. So I think the heart being broken, if you will, I think that's just another way of us knowing more about our own heart, our emotional selves, how to treat others. And what is it? Someone said a broken heart. What is it about that experience? What is it that's broken, that you feel is broken? Where does that come from within yourself? What aspect of yourself feels broken or not in fullness of being in order to have that experience? So it's all learning,
The wisdom of my wonderful guest, James von Praagh. James, please tell us about this program you have starting on March 18th with the Shift Network.
Well, I've done work now close to 40 years. And one of my favorite things in this lifetime, my passions, is teaching. I love to teach, and I love to share this insights, the wisdom, the experiences I've been through in my mediumship development. And the hardest part, Victor, for me, when I do messages for people, it's not necessarily talking to dead people. That I can do. And I can teach others about that quite well. The part that I have the hard time with is I see their possibilities for themselves around their auric field or their abilities, and they don't see it for themselves. That's really hard. So in this teaching, in this course, and other course I've done, I really want to emphasize, once again, they get connected with their soul self. I bring them through various exercises, meditations, where they, number one, connect with that relationship with their soul. And from that space, we begin to be aware of the spirit people and how they should let themselves be open to spirit, take that journey of the spirit world, understand the spirit world, understand that it's really a sense of it's not aggressive, it's subtle, it's a passive activism. So when you connect with the spirit world, which is, of course, is all about how do you connect in a very subtle way, but a very real way, and that you feel your way through to connect with the spirit world. And it's really designed as a mediumship course that really takes you to the next level. So if people have done mediumship, basics of mediumship, it brings you a little bit further on your path to really use exercises and insights that you can use to further your connection with the spirit world, getting more details, like I mentioned earlier about the lady with the bracelet. How do you use your clairvoyance, with your clairsentience or your clairaudience? How do you become aware? How do you go further with it? How do you get further insights? And then we get into a little bit of philosophy too, that your soul is here to teach others or be aware. So I get into that too as a mediumship course. I wanted to do it with Shift Network because they're such a great organization and online, because they really care and they really do a quality job. And I don't do it with everyone. So it's a very limited. So they have done a great job. It's going to be an advanced mediumship course, which I have the techniques that I've used over the many years. But it's so funny, Victor, because over my years of teaching, it's so interesting because I noticed basic beginning and then went to the next level. And there's such a similarity or commonality to the second level, to the advanced mediumship. So I use those many things I've learned over the years. All those students have told me certain things happen, and I'm using those to help with the advanced course. So that's really what it is. It's honing in, it's being mindful, it's being aware. And when we begin to work with mediumship and an advanced level, if you will, it really also forces us to look at ourselves on a higher level too. And just like we're talking about, demonstrating love, using love in everything you do. So I go into that further in the course as well.
And that can be found at Shift Network, theshiftnetwork.com/course/01 J von Praagh, and Praagh is Praagh 03_25. And simply, you can go to Shift Network and James von Praagh, and you'll find the link to the course with all of the information. It's a huge, huge description of everything that James offers.
There's a lot
and it's a wonderful program.
There's a lot in that course.
A lot. And we'll be back with more of James after these words on the Om Times Radio Network.
The best of the holistic, spiritual, and conscious world. Om Times Radio. IOM FM. Om Times Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. Om Times, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
Hello, I'm Sandy Sedgbeer, host of Om Times Magazine's flagship radio show, What is Going Om. My passion is sifting through information, research, and innovations from new thought teachers, speakers, and researchers, pushing back the boundaries of what we know about life, energy, metaphysics, and the universe. I love shifting perceptions about who we are, why we're here, and how quickly impossible becomes normal when we open our minds, expand our awareness, and accept that the only limits that exist are those we place upon ourselves. So if you're the kind of forward-thinking, eager investigator of what lies beyond the current reality that most perceive, why not make a date to come play with me in the field of possibilities at 4 p.m. Pacific Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Time every Thursday, and together we can discover what's really going on.
Back on Destination Unlimited, my guest this week, James von Praagh. We're going to be talking about the work he's going to be doing at the Shift Network, a course for 7 weeks starting on March 18th, and we'll give you more details as the interview ensues. James, how may we attract health, success, and happiness through the power of love?
Wow, that's a good question. And it's all available to us. We just have to be willing to do the work. When I say the work, it goes back to, number one, knowing who we are and understanding our own soul personality and understanding really what's important to us and what's not important to us. Being mindful of what influences us and what doesn't influence us. And the power we give to certain things. So again, it goes back to a sense of loving self. Everything goes back to love of self. When one has that sense of loving self, love is the highest frequency, the highest vibration there is. So when you have that sense of loving yourself, and really part of Victor, I said earlier too, and I love this mantra. Wayne Dyer used to use it. Terry Cole Whitaker did, and I've used it. What other people think of you is none of your business. And it's really, really true because our energy is very different. It's very distinct and individualized. So when we have that relationship with self and love self, what happens is we are magnetic beings. We're constantly magnetic, and the natural law of like attracts like. And you will attract in your sphere of influence, that atmosphere around you, that higher vibration of love. And really, it's so funny because the human has to get out of the way. I talk about this a lot in my course too. It's always about the human part of us getting out of the way. Stop critiquing. Stop being so left brain. Stop analyzing and just be. And that takes a little bit of process and a little bit of a discipline, but there's so much freedom in that. When you let go and let God, there's many ways of saying it. And let God to me is pure love. Let go and let God. And you will attract to in your life that which is important that you need. And it may not come to you the way you expect it. Don't try to control it. But it's almost like universal ordering. Put it out there and put it out to what you would like. And you just put it out there and let the universe take care of that. And then relax and let it happen. But we humans try so hard to control things. Control, ooh, that's a hard one, control. And really, we have no control. You can't control another person. You can't control a situation. All you control is how you respond to someone and really work on your own self, your own awareness of things. And it's really very, very true. Things will come to you if you're clear and you're pure of heart, and it'll come to you in ways you don't expect. It's like the spirit world will take care of you. They pull strings. Listen, I'm someone 40 years doing this work, and I first came to Los Angeles in the early 90s to be a sitcom writer. I knew nothing about mediumship, and I always knew I'd be well known, and I thought it'd be through sitcom writing or as a writer of that. And the twists and turns and tons of temporary jobs, not knowing anybody in Los Angeles, things fell apart. And, it's all those little curves, ups and downs all around that bring us to where we're meant to be. And I just think having that sense of, someone is at, someone else is at the wheel, we're just following up. And that's how we do it. It's very interesting. And I think if one can stop and go back and observe. I think observation is really important. How this worked, how this came about. That person meant that to happen. So all this connection, but it never happens the way we think it's going to. It's not linear, right? So it's all these different ways that it comes to us. We have to have that faith that once we put it out there and we keep up with that sense of, let's say I want a new job, or I got to keep that. I want that job. But you can describe what it is, or I want love in my life. Now, I would say keep loving your life. Bring love to you. What does it mean to you? You have to. It's in a way you got to write up the description of it and send it to the universe. But everything is available to us if we're willing to open up and be there in the right way.
And you call this moving from ego to soul. What do we do with those demanding egos?
Exactly. So ego, yes, or fear. I often talk about, and we've talked this before, Victor, that I always think life is a series of choices, and choices are and throughout life, when we're born to the day we leave the body, it's a series of choices. So you choose, what school you went to, what someone you had a relationship with, or college, whatever jobs you are. And it's either based on love, that you love to do it, and it feels great, and it's a fulfillment, or fear, which is inadequacy. Fear, F-E-A-R, false ego appearing real. And we got to be able to separate the two. And if you'll just tune into that limited consciousness, which is fear, things will come to the way you'd like them to. And they'll be, I guess we would say, half-baked. So that's how I look at it.
Absolutely. You've shared that death is an illusion. Please explain.
Yeah, so death is an illusion. And my brother recently just passed over 3 weeks ago. And he came, and he was young. And I think that we have to first understand that the soul is temporarily in this physical vessel, or we call it the meat suit, if you will. This is just a covering for our soul. It's not real. It's just a covering. We need this vessel, vehicle, to get around this three-dimensional physical world. But as a soul, we come in and out of the body all the time. And it's not a big deal. It's just we do it all the time. Every night we go to sleep, the soul leaves the body through the crown chakra at the top of the head. And it's just very natural. It goes out and we visit the astral world. We see our loved ones and guides, and we work on things that we're going to experience in the physical in the future. So we really spend most of our time in the spirit levels. So when we, at the end of the physical death, when the time is for us, everything is moving. The one constant is change. And we're changing every day. We're moving every day. But when it's our time to be finished of school here, when it's time to graduate, and by the way, time to graduate, sometimes there are souls that choose to be ill and have others take care of them. And they're limited, like my brother was. And many times we could say that that soul is, it's a final lesson to teach others about compassion, or to really receive from others. Maybe in life they didn't receive. This is a way they're receiving. So it's interesting because my brother said to me, he goes, it was funny because as a soul, we come in and out of that body all the time. When he was ill and terminal, he would come to me. He lives in New York and I'm in California. And he would come right to me and say, you need to cut the cords. I need to go. I need to go. I was like, well, we got to let things be natural as it's going to be, but I'm sending him good thoughts. And finally, probably about a month later, he was able to leave. Well, this is very funny. His ex-wife came from, I think it was Seattle, and can you see him? And he didn't really care for her, but she felt obligated to sit there with him. Now, I didn't know this the night that he passed, but he came to me the next day, right before I heard about he passed, and he said, James, what? And he had such a New York personality. He goes, what are you doing? My ex-wife, I see my ex-wife there. What do you think pushed me over the edge? So it was very funny. And I said, well, he goes, yeah, I just popped out of the body. And I love that expression, I just popping out, because it's just a shift of consciousness. You let go of the heaviness of this physical vibration, this unnatural, if you will, place, this body, this physical world, and you go back home. And it's all available to us. And again, we do it every day. We go to the other side. I was getting a massage once a week. And the other night I had one, and it was quite incredible. And I think maybe because of my brother's entrance into that level. But around me, I was just surrendering. And I didn't expect anything, but I was immediately brought into this circle of light above me. And all old friends and my family were there. And I didn't expect it. But I was like, oh, this is all very natural. I feel very natural about it. And that's how they describe when we pass out of the physical vibration. That's a natural. We go back home. That's our home. This is only our school.
Beautiful. What would you offer to those who are grieving right now?
Number one, that there is no death. So they realize there is no death whatsoever, and that their loved ones are indeed around them. And there are many different, there are many different types of grief. I wrote a book years ago called Healing Grief, and it's all the different situations of grieving, whether it's moving to a new house, whether it's empty nest syndrome, whether it's getting a new job, and whether it's losing a loved one, whether that's a child or a partner or a family member. Grief is real. It's part of the human experience. And we really have to go through that, if you will. Again, a lesson, if you will. And I just say that, number one, they're always around us. It's a grief about the past is over, that there is no death. They're around you. And I often say to people to help them with their grief, I say, number one, keep a journal and write down ways that they influenced your life. How have they made your life better? And because of their influence in your life, how would you now move forward and bring that positive energy, those aspects, to another person, right? And another page, what did they teach you? Which is a really good one. What do they teach you and the importance of it? And don't get caught up in the sense that, they're not there anymore, because they're more there than they were when they were physically around. They're more there in your mind. The mind is the soul, the soul's mind. So you can communicate with them in your mind. And I often say, do it a certain time of day. So keep a little journal or a pad, and let's say 7:00 at night, sit down and open your mind up in a meditative state, an altered state, and just be still and ask them to come close to you and let them and feel them in your heart, not in your head, in your heart. And that will be the way they'll come in. And it's really, those things work. And another technique, which works extremely well also, is to write a letter to them. Write them a letter and everything you want to say to them. And I say it 2 weeks later, write down in your calendar, writing another letter back. What happens, you write this letter, you fold it up, put it away. And then 2 weeks later, you look in your calendar and there's another time to write a letter. So same thing, 7:00 at night, whatever, get yourself an altered state, hold a piece of paper and a pen, and now it's going to be a letter from them to you. So they're responding to your original letter. And I've done this for years with clients, and it really works. It's really wonderful. It brings them back their life, and it helps them with their healing.
Beautiful, beautiful. In many of your books and programs, you share the importance of a meditation practice. Why is this so important?
Well, so as I was just saying, a meditation is really, it's number one, giving you a sense of a new direction, a different perspective. And I think it really assists us in having that sense of self. It brings us to an altered state of consciousness. And in that altered state of consciousness, you're kind of away from the physical. You get more into the mind or at different levels of awareness, if you will. And I think if we get on a regular basis of training our mind to be in a space which is not of the human, but aware of everything, it just opens us up. It opens us up to all the experience we have, the meaning behind these experiences. It helps us to have, if you will, an awareness of our soul self, and the choices that we make. And it really is, it's just so much there when we open ourselves up to those altered states of consciousness, because it also helps you to begin to feel energy and sense energy. And, the more one is dedicated and disciplined to it, you really will begin to, on those levels, be able to sense energy. And not only those who passed over, but those who the living world. And when you go out, you'll be able to sense the energy of a person. We do it anyway. We go into, we meet someone, we feel a certain way. The meditation or altered state will enhance the energy. It enhances that connection. And one thing too, Victor, which is really important too, I've noticed in meditative practice, that brings in that sense of oneness, that we're all connected, and that whatever that means, you have a sense of oneness of life force in all things, and you become appreciative, if you will, and all yourself, but all life forms. And I can just tell you from my experiences, that's what it's about for me and for others that I've taught. And it's really interesting because my teaching, I'm such a passionate person about it. I love to see others progress. I love to see them have that sense again of themselves. Many of my students say, wow, I can't believe I'm doing this. This is so great. I forgot who I was. And I've taken your courses and I remember now who I am. Oh, wow. I've taken a lot of courses, but you really nailed it for me. And that's true. Every teacher is different. I say to students, everybody is different. A speaker, an author, someone you see, what happens if they give you information that resonates to your soul, take it, use it. They're feeding your soul. And if it doesn't, it's not ready for you. It's not right for you. So I've had a lot of people, not everyone, but a lot of people have said, wow, that really speaks to my soul, what you've said in your courses and your meditation practices. So that's why I think it's important.
We are so excited about this 7-week program you have coming up on the Shift Network Next Level Mediumship. Is every person capable of developing their mediumship skills?
That's a great question. Great question. So I'm going to answer that by saying everybody's a soul, right? So we in the physical world, we're a soul incarnate. We have soul with a physical vessel around us, but we're still a soul. And those souls that leave the physical, they're still a soul. So the only difference is we're in the physical vibration, the physical skin, and they're outside of that. So how do we do that? Well, we have to open up our minds and be more aware of that subtle energies around us. So every single person is a medium from one point to another, and it can be developed and the skill set can increase. Now, I will say, I often, the analogy I like to use is that it's like a concert pianist. Everybody has the ability to play the piano, but not everybody's a concert pianist. So you can maximize, if you will, that energy, that sense of your soul self, that aspect of yourself. But, some people have more of it they're born that way. I guess they're born like I wasn't a kid. I was born that way. But there's certainly, because we're souls, in the physical, we can communicate with other souls. That is definitely possible.
My guest is the amazing James Van Praagh. We'll be back with more of James after these words on the Om Times Radio Network.
Humanity Healing International is a small nonprofit with a big dream. Since 2007, HHI has been working tirelessly to bring help to communities with little or no hope. Our projects are not broad mandates, nor are they overnight solutions, but they bring the reassurance that no one is alone and that someone cares. To learn more, please visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is.
Hi, this is Bill Maher. I can find humor in almost anything, but one thing I never laugh about is cruelty to animals. If you don't get the joke either, write People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, 501 Front Street, Norfolk, Virginia, 23510.
Back on Destination Unlimited, my wonderful guest this week, James von Praagh. We're talking about his program coming up on March 18th on the Shift Network, where he'll be teaching regular folks like you how to connect with the spirit world and deliver healing messages to others. We'll be talking a little bit more about the offerings during the show. You say that mediums receive and psychics perceive. Please explain.
Yeah, everybody is psychic from one degree or another. And what is psychic? Well, that is a part of your soul. So it's the soul's language. Intuition means into the soul. So the language of the soul is intuition. It's that sense of knowingness. So we perceive, we look in, we feel, sense energy of another, right? And if they're right there at that time, and let's say we're working on someone or with a person, we really sense or perceive what the energy feels like around that person, or we can say that past, present, future, or if you will, if you have an awareness about a certain situation, you perceive it, you become aware of it, you observe it. In other words, it's really an observation about how this is going to work out, how that feels to you, how that you sense that, sometimes clairvoyantly, sometimes clairaudiently. So everybody is psychic. Every medium is psychic. Not every medium is a psychic. Not every psychic is a medium. So everybody senses, that's perceiving things. And the medium, which is of course, we talk about a lot of this, is learning how to receive. And you bring yourself to a space of surrendering. That's really important in mediumship. One has to learn to just surrender and receive impressions from the spirit people, where they will transmit thoughts and feelings and memories and emotion from their mind to your mind, because the mind is a soul, the soul is a mind. So when we're in a state of receptivity and you just sit there to receive and not push it, right? There's an opening and you're able to pick up, if you will, transmissions from the spirit world as you receive them. It's so funny because if one pushes it and tries to get it, it'll never happen. And the analogy I always use, which I love, is let's say there's a feather floating down from the sky. If you try to receive that feather, you go after it and push it to, trying to grab it, it won't happen. But if you just put your hand out, it's more likely to come on your hand than it would be if you tried it so far. It's being receptive. So that's the difference between the two.
What do you share with those studying with you about delivering perhaps difficult messages with compassion?
Oh, it's a good one. So I love that question. It's very important in mediumship. I talk a lot about ethics and responsibility. And as a medium, one has the life of another in their hands. And I often describe it like a sheet of thin glass. And you can destroy someone's life or you can empower someone's life. And you, as the medium, that's your responsibility. So it might be a very hard subject. For instance, a reading I once did in New York was a lady whose son came through, and he died of a drunk driver hit him and killed him, and the driver lived and he died. And the mother and the father in the audience, and the son said, Mom, you need to forgive him. And she was furious. How could you say that? I'm just saying what he said. And you really have to get to the heart of the matter. And I teach that a lot, getting to the heart of the matter. So your job as a medium is to heal that person, bring them to a fullness of being in their heart. So there may be reasons why that person can't forgive. The son said right away, Mom, Dad, I've forgiven him. You need to forgive him. And part of the reason he was saying that, because energetically, it's really important. He said, if you don't forgive him, you're putting up a block. You're putting up a wall, and it'll block life. And it's like, what does that mean? He said, certain life experiences cannot happen to you because you're blocked off. Because you won't forgive this blocking of a part of yourself. And every experience in your life, you're limiting it. You're limiting God. You're limiting the energy. The right thing to do is to forgive. And also because we don't know what the higher lessons are here to learn between those two souls, between the soul group. So one has to be, from what I do, Victor, is I come from a point of view of love, that everything is whole and healthy and whole and oneness of love. And again, as a medium, we have to find that the heart in every person. And we got to do it sometimes in a very sensitive, compassionate way, because we don't know their background. We don't know if they're abused or hurt or something. We just don't know. And so we have to be that instrument, that example of compassion and understanding and love to that person, the recipient that's getting the message. So I often say, as a medium, we're ambassadors to the other side. And for me, the other side is unconditional love and joy. Now, there are other mediums that are out there who don't know that. They can be great technicians, but not be spiritual. And that's happened quite a bit. So for me, when I took on this position, this job, whatever my career, I knew I had to be responsible. I knew I had to have integrity because I knew I had people's lives in their hands. And I wanted to change people for the better. And for me, I often say to everybody, all my students, I say, listen, if you look at your life, one of the most successful aspects of your life, if you will, when you leave this world and you go up to the other side and you have what's called a life review and you see everything you've done, become aware of every energy you've sent out, every thought you've sent out, every word, if you can make the world a better place than when you found it, life is successful. And that's what I tell everybody. That's my goal.
As an ambassador of love, do you need a passport?
Well, I think, the funny thing with that is that we're all so connected and this human vibration, the two biggest illusions we have. Number one, there's death. There is no such thing as death. And number two, that sense of separativeness, when really we're not separate. We're all quite together. We're all one. People say, what does one mean? I said, love is one to me. Love is one is love. What does that mean, James? Say love, O-N-E, omnipresent, nurturing energy.
Beautiful. I've met people for the first time and immediately sensed a familial connection. Do we have soul families?
We have soul families. We have soul groups. We've lived many, many lifetimes with other souls who may pop into your life at a different time. Maybe your midlife, your childhood. Yes, we have very much so. And I don't believe those things just spontaneously happen. I think there's a divine plan that they come onto your path at a particular time and they influence us or we influence them. And I think that exactly what happens. Yeah, for sure, 100%.
For 7 weeks, starting on March 18th with the Shift Network, James will be teaching regular folks how to connect with the spirit world and deliver healing messages to others. It's going to be Tuesdays at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. And James, you're going to be giving your pro-level mediumship toolbox that you'll share during the course. Tell us about that gift.
Well, it's just that, over the years and many years of teaching, I've become aware of certain aspects, insights, exercises that people relate to and that it's easy for people to understand and attain. And it's like the aha moments. So in this, I call it toolbox, all these different exercises and mind journeys, if you will, are ways of people to getting into the sense of mediumship and the sense. It's hard to say because some people think, mediumship, I just talk to dead people. No, there's more of a sense of your own soul self and your soul changing and being open. And that's part of this toolbox, as part of this course, is having the relationship with your soul self. That's really important. So different exercises, different ways I have people tune into their own souls and in turn tune into their loved ones. So funny, with a lot of my students would say, I got so much out of this course in a different way than I expected. I never expected this. I expect just this. So that's really what happens. So in that toolbox, different exercises, different mind journeys, different ways in, and really a sense of, attitude, atmosphere. It's all in there. So, as I said earlier, Victor, I'm so passionate what I do. I don't want to waste time. I think time is really precious. It's a gift we have. So I made sure I included those moments, those exercises, those insights that are really been successful in many years to get people out of their way and get into the heart of the matter.
Do you share techniques for both personal and group readings?
I do. I certainly do. Personal is, one-on-one readings, if you will. And then groups also, like how would you handle many people in one space? And there are many different energies. So how would you work for a larger group, I call it a demonstration, than you would from a one-on-one? That's really important. So yes, I cover that as well. And it's very interesting because the energy is a little bit different. The dynamic is a little different. But again, remember that we are the heart. We are the heart of the matter. And again, I'm going to repeat it that, when you come into someone's life, you have to make a difference. And so if you start having that relationship that you're a soul here as an ambassador of the spirit world, and I'm just tuning to energies around me, there's a different dynamic from a group than is a one-on-one. Yeah, and I cover that.
I understand that those enrolled in the Next Level Mediumship also get access to many extras, including the core teachings from the 7-module program, Cultivate Your Mediumship Skills. That's your foundation program, right?
That's correct. That is exactly right. I have a school online for that 4 or 5, oh, maybe 6 years now, the JVP School of Mystical Arts. And what I've done is I've taken the most successful attributes of the course they have there and brought them into this. So it's exactly tried and true, if you will.
And anything else you'd like to share about the program?
It's going to change your life. It'll change people's lives if they're willing to, and if they're willing to take the time and develop properly and really begin to understand their soul self. It will change their lives. It'll change their perspective. It'll change the way they're living. It'll change the changes in their lives. So all of that is really, really important. And that's what they will experience when they step into that space.
And they're going to have fun too, right?
Oh my God, me? Yes. You know me. I'm all about the fun. You got to have fun. You got to have joy. Joy is part of the journey. Journey. Joy is part of the journey. And I make it. One thing about mediumship, which I teach a lot, is don't take it so seriously. Stop. You have to have fun. When you realize that there's no death, that makes you fun and joyful and happy. So let's bring that into this mediumship. And also when the spirit people come close to you, they certainly don't want to go to a depressed, down person. They want to have fun when they come through because of that higher vibration of love. So I often say, let's have a party. Pretend you're having a party with them as you invite them in, because that's the vibration and frequency they want to come to. They want to be in that space. So part of that setting up that sacred space also is opening up that to a higher vibration of fun, love, and joy. That's what it's about.
So you can learn and party with James Van Praagh
right.
for 7 weeks starting March 18th on the Shift Network. These programs are going to be Tuesdays at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. And to find out more, you can type in Google shiftnetwork.com and James Van Praagh, or you can go theshiftnetwork.com/course/01J Van Praagh, VANPRAAGH 03_25. James, have I left anything out?
No, I think you've done an incredible job, and I look forward to being with people on Tuesdays and changing their lives. So thank you for your assistance and your help in being who you are.
James, thank you so much for joining us and sharing all of this wonderful information, this positive information that we need in a world that needs an open heart and positivity.
It's true. Thank you. Thank you, Victor, very much. Appreciate it.
And thank you for joining us on Destination Unlimited. I'm Victor, the Voice Furman. Have a wonderful week.